Welcome, everybody. My name is Alexander Trentin, and I am very happy to moderate today the fourth webinar in our series about data-driven analytics. Today's topic is related to the customer experience. The title is Impressing Your Customer with Database Strategies. And we want to discuss today how data can be used to improve marketing as well as customer experience. This webinar, as well as the three webinars in the series before, you will be able to watch later on the website fuw-forum.ch. So this webinar will be recorded and will be available later on the website to be watched again. Before I continue, I would like to ask you all to fill out the survey you see on Zoom in a window. We have the question, where do database strategies have the largest potential in customer services and marketing? First answer would be attracting new customers. Second, improving the satisfaction of current customers. And third, giving new insights in regard to customer demands. Right. So I will be joined today by two highly qualified experts, which will give us insights today on the very important topic. And we got a result for the survey. The majority say that database strategies have the largest potential in improving the satisfaction of current customers. Let me now introduce our two speakers. The first one will be Mr. Clément Jacquemin. He's the experience director with Oracle and works in his role with major brands across Europe. He has been working in the digital marketing industry for over 10 years and more than 5 years at Oracle. And the second speaker will be Mike Fuhrmann. He's the head of marketing at Generali, Switzerland. He has more than 15 years of marketing and branding experience, worked in leading positions on the both agency and industry side, and he has built brand experience for global players such as Bayer, DHL, and Zurich. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the audience joining us today to listen to the speakers. During the presentations, the audience will be able to ask questions on Zoom in the Q&A window. So there's a specific window you're able to type in questions. I would like to ask the presenters not to answer the questions during the presentations, but to wait until the Q&A time after both of the presentations. So both presentations will be given. Afterwards, we will have time for questions and answers. And so don't answer them during the presentations, but we will discuss them in the panel after the presentations. Right. So for the first presentation, Clément will give us his insight on the topic, data for the modern enterprise. Analysis is good, real-time action is better. Clément, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the introduction, Alexander. Just double checking, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you okay, thank you.
Okay, and I can't switch on my video then, can I? Start my video, okay, cool.
Yes,
okay,
now we see you.
Yeah, cool, you can see me now. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So, as Alexander said, today I want to talk to you not about analytics, but about data for the modern enterprise. And the reason is that for many years now, we've been, obviously as CX professionals, relying on analysis, analytics, insights to drive our decisions. And now the technology is been there for quite a while to basically do real-time action, which is better and more suited for the world we live in now in 2021. So without further ado, let me set the scene first, and then what I want to do is, what does that mean, that being data ready for the modern enterprise? And then after that, what I will do is also give you a real life example of the application of real-time action for a utilities company that we work with in the UK. So, you know, after a period of shock and changes, we now back entering a period of growth and opportunities. And I hope people attending today will agree to that they're seeing growth is back on, opportunities are back on after a couple of years of, let's be honest, fairly difficult times for many businesses. What we're seeing as well is that there's been a constant throughout the last few decades, probably the last 2 or 3, that we should add to the changes that we're seeing following the pandemic. And that constant is data keeps on giving and growing. What we have seen also over the last few years, and probably pushed through even further through the changes and shocks that we've encountered over the last couple of years, is that digitalization is now at the center of humanity. We have connected device, we have smartphones, we have tablets, we have laptops, we have endless connected devices, and everything's going digital. And now if you put those 3 factors together, growth, data, digitalization, as well as easier ways to enter a market or an industry, this has resulted in increased and much tougher competition, represented by those guys fighting on the ice hockey ring. So now what I want to do is to tell you a story of a financial institution that is confronted with these challenges, but trying to turn these challenges into benefits and make itself ready for this new world. And in a world where data is prevalent, FSO, or Financial Services Oracle, moves forward carefully, picking and looking at each droplet of information. Enabled with the right tools, FSO stays close to the heart of their customers, even in this tough world I described earlier. So how do we start? Well, to being ready for the data of the modern enterprise? Well, we start with unification. What I mean is unification of data, of course. Like in this example, I'd like to think of a member of a marketing department coming back from work after a few months away, maybe because of maternity leave. And in this example, this lady, Mary, has heard that the business now has a new tool that lets the team leverage everything there is to know about customers. Before that new tool being introduced, she would have had to make dozens of requests to IT and other departments, wasting valuable time to try to get the information she wanted about customers. It's also about data storage. It's about making sure that you've got the right data infrastructure to generate the storage that's needed for you as a financial institution to thrive. In this example, Paul in the service center has a customer on the phone who's asking about something that happened 10 years ago. And yes, thanks to what FSO's put in place, the data is available and even better linked to the household, giving the true view of what this customer is about. It also comes with insights. Product teams look at releasing new financial products constantly. In this case in Thailand, and thanks to the right data structure, the team are looking at reports which help them understand who to target in their advertising. They even have the possibility to review some contextual reports to understand which are the best sites for advertising this new product. Next, it comes with the ability to segment. Segmentation, but not only is very important when it comes to delivering the right experiences to customers and prospects. Let's have a look at Alain. Alain is in France and he needs to create a segment. He needs to create a segment for his next campaign to attract new customers. Thanks to his great data platform that FSO's put in place, he is able to make sure that it doesn't target people that already have products through their employers, making sure that he doesn't waste time reaching out to people that he knows won't need this new product. It comes with orchestration as well, and really about the possibility to orchestrate a series of campaigns, a series of messages. And in this particular case, Alain, because the data is so in order, the platform is so complete, he just needs to press a button to send this segment to his campaign engine and then build the journey that will deliver results for his organization. Very important, it's about real time. Having the ability for FSO to recognize and see that somebody is doing something, an interaction, whether it is an ad, an email campaign, or the website, and while that person is having the interaction, being able not only to connect, but also looking at the historical data so that the right action, the correct call to action can be taken by FSO. Next step, it's about channels. Today, we have so many ways to interact, and customers have the choice. They're the ones who choose which channel they're choosing to engage and which one they prefer to engage with the brand. Here in this example, visitor left some details as part of the quote for the financial product. And the platform has recognized that this visitor, based on certain elements that she's given for doing this quote, building this quote, the visitor looked like a high value one. And following the build of the quote, the platform decided to send a letter to make an impact. I know I've been talking about digitalization, but here's the point. The platforms recognize for FSO, this is a very important customer. Therefore, let's make a difference. Let's use a channel that maybe people are not used to anymore and send a letter to really get their offer, their messaging in front of the eyes of that prospect. And it's finally all about experiences. Thanks to data, its organization, its availability, FSO is now capable to understand who they should talk to, what they should talk about, and when to do it, and which channel to use for that. So what we're saying at Oracle is, yes, analytics is part of what a CX department should be looking at, but we think that it is a data-first CX that will enable the future journeys of growth. In summary, to respond to competition, digitalization, new growth, we believe it is just not about analytics. It's not just analytics that CX professionals need. It is a platform that enables data utilization and activation through, as I said, unification, storage of data, unlimited, insight that can be driven thanks to unification and the storage that has been made available. It is also giving the power to the users, the campaign executives, to segment correctly, ensuring the orchestration is at the fingertips of everyone within the CX department. The ability to react in real time, understand, seeing what's happening and react with the appropriate action. Making sure that the data we've been talking about is available to any channels. And finally, once you've put all of that together, what's created are endless personalized experience, which will help you beat the competition, respond to the needs of digitalization that customers want, and finally, not being snowed under by the data, but really leverage it to your advantages. Now, let's have a look at what real-time data in action looks like. And in this particular use case with a utilities company, as I said at the beginning, we're talking about behaviors prediction on a website. And I wanted to talk to you about utilities companies because A, they are in the news these days, the increase of wholesale energy prices makes their life very difficult, because in many countries, they can't pass those increases to their customers, meaning that if they want to stay afloat, they really need to look at reducing their costs. Utility companies and others have to find ways to serve their customers as best as they can, but also make sure they control how much serving these customers cost. As a result, this particular utility company came to us to see how we could build a process to reduce the numbers of calls being made to their call centers. So let me explain what we've done. So here the idea is really to see how we can do inbound deflection to build self-service journey. Step one, a user comes into the utilities company website, and this is neither a prospect nor a high-value customer, because this company has already put in place personalization techniques to treat this type of people differently. Step two, real-time data capture technology from Oracle records what the user is browsing and then passes it in real time into a central customer data repository, all of that in real time. These customer signals are then used by a machine learning model that will make a decision based on the interactions that we've seen just now, as well as the historical data that is stored into the platform. The model crunches the data, and a deflection event is then generated. This deflection event is recorded against the customer data in the customer data repository and passed in real time into the personalization technology on this utilities website. The result is that the customer is presented content likely to be self-service pages or even a chatbot, or why not a physical chat, to try and avoid that phone call that cost them so much money to be dealing with. That's what we've done with our utility companies. Now, the big question is, was it worth it? Well, us and the utilities business that I'm talking about here feel that it was more than worth it. The process has now been in place for a few months, and many, many thousands of customers have been through this, and the success is here. 15%. What is that, you might ask? Well, this is the percentage of deflection that we've achieved so far. And what's really interesting and beautiful is that this number keeps on growing, because the machine learning model keeps on learning what's working best for whom, based on the behaviors, based on the results, keeps on crunching and improving the recommendation for that deflection. And I was saying, is it worth it? Well, yes, absolutely, because for every 1% of customers being deflected, the business is saving £30,000 in customer service costs. So the morale of that story is that if you can't increase your pricing, to manage your business, you need to look at ways to reduce your costs. And in this example, what we've done is put together some technology that looks at customers' behaviors, analyzes it, uses it with its historical data, putting in place AI and ML to make decisions in the moment of what is the next best thing to do. In this case, the model is really looking at trying to deflect people from calling the business, and it's delivering results. And yeah, well, I'll let you make the calculation. The company is saving tremendous amount of money, and the solution we've put in place is paying for itself extremely quickly. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about on what it means to be a data-ready modern enterprise to now serve the needs and requirements of the 21st century customers. Thank you for your time, and now we'll pass it back to Alexander. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Clément. Thank you for the presentation. I would like to remind the audience that they can already ask questions in the Zoom window, question and answers. We will discuss them later after the second presentation. So Clément already gave a very good introduction in regard to what can be achieved by using data, and he gave a very specific example where also cost can be saved and customer experience can be improved. So Mike Fuhrmann, he's the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Generali Switzerland, and he's part of the management board. And he will also have a very specific example how data can be actually used in real-time action. And his topic is optimizing your digital performance by data-driven, always-on strategy. Mr. Fuhrmann, Mike, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me here and letting me speak a little bit about performance-driven or data-driven performance marketing. Or maybe like my digital marketeers call it, usually the next hot thing. So when I joined Generali 3.5 years ago, I wanted to stop wasting money with old-fashioned seasonal brand campaigns, because that's usually what is going on. You build seasonal campaigns, and every 3 months you have a new campaign coming out on a specific topic. So I thought, let's shift our digital campaigns mainly there where our customers are. Today, we as consumers, we are every time online. So we are not planning our interactions and purchase decisions on seasonal events. So maybe now for Black Friday, but not otherwise. So we're always there. So this is why our credo became, we need to be always on with our digital campaigning. So, but what is the difference to the classic seasonal campaigns? So if you look at classical seasonal campaigns, usually they focus on reach for a short amount of time. So you have always those peaks. And in this period, you need high investments to build awareness. But you also lose many people because you reach everyone, but you're not targeted, which makes it very expensive. So with Always On, we were fully performance driven, and we tried to reach our audience very, very focused, and just when it's for them the right time. For insurance companies, our interactions with consumers also not seasonal. So we can today relocate at any time. So we need a new household insurance. We can buy a new car whenever we need one. So, or when we have the money. So we can, so it's also more anytime. We think about our pension plannings at special occasions. So maybe when a child is born, when I found a family. So it's more occasional and not seasonal. And therefore, we want to really focus on being always present. And that has a massive impact on our media spending, but also finally at the campaign success. And what you see here is actually that we reduced our CPM by 75%, our CPC by 57%, and our acquisition costs even decreased more by even 90%. So our main focus was really to be business relevant of all the media activities that we do. We always focused on the business relevance there. And we did not hide behind more clicks, because in the past, when I started working in marketing, you usually said, okay, so you have now so much, so how was the campaign? Oh yeah, I reached so many people, I got so many likes and all that. But this was not counting for us. For us, everything that mattered were successful acquisitions. So how can we change that? And such a e-commerce mindset, so I don't know why it's slow. Okay, such an e-commerce mindset that focused purely on revenue increase made us actually a best practice for Google search and the first mover in the insurance category. But what were the ingredients of such a success? So first of all, and I think this is almost the most important ingredient that you need, you need a strong team and also the right skill set in the team. So we had that internally, but also in collaboration with our partners. The second ingredient was that we really created powerful audience and creative strategy. So not just a creative strategy, but also we really looked at the audience, and that we mixed together with tracking and analytics. And what was new for us was actually the AdTech ecosystem. So we try to focus on a tech infrastructure and how we can use those tools to the max. So in that finally, and this is something that you know from startups, we had to have those startup mentality in doing something new. So we piloted, we tested, we failed, we learned, we tried things again, we improved us, and in the end, then you succeed. So, and that was the key for us. It's still not. So, the key for us was really that we own our AdTech solution and that we have full control about our data. So here, this is why I said before, we partnered with Google and their Google marketing platform. So this helped us to reduce the complexity and then increase the efficiency. It also helped us define audiences and integrate them directly into our campaign tools to generate real-time insights that we could use them for continuous improvements. So it also allowed us an end-to-end tracking of the entire customer journey. And the look of the campaign, for a marketeer, you might think, okay, that is now not really cool. And I agree. So it was not really the coolest look and feel. And it was probably also not the most exciting one. But it was the most efficient one and the most performing one. Because we took design elements of our whole 2018 campaign. And we developed them with our creative agency, TBWA, in Zurich, a script for various formats according to our audience strategy. So in the end, we had 11 ad formats. We had 15 different icons. We had 23 sujets. And that generated more than 5,000 dynamic possible combinations, which created different ads. And those ads were all tailored to different needs of our target audiences. And we did not stop, or actually we did not show those ads just everywhere like we did in the past and just booked some media space. We showed them just for the right people at the right time. And a little technical insight maybe. So in phase one, we targeted consumers based on their potential purchase ambitions. So life cycles, locations, or other second-party data that we could connect with our insurance solutions. In phase two, we targeted these audiences with advanced strategies to ensure that consumers were approached with the right message for them during their micro moment, which they had just by browsing the internet. So here's a short video that I hope that you can hear now, which explains a little bit better how that works. So I hope it worked with the transmission so that it was not just stopping all the time. But to be frank here on those things, we also had a little bit of help because we had to collect so much data and analyze so many data points, which is actually too much for a human being or the people resources that we have within this project. So this is why we included a Zurich-based company called Nexoya to optimize the data with AI. And thanks to AI predictions, we knew when we need to do cross-channel budget shifts in order to generate the maximum performance out of that whole thing. So, and we were actually really happy that this whole approach brought us the silver medal at this year's Best of Swiss Web Awards in the category Innovation. And now you might ask, okay, so what's next? Because we hear that we have the GDPR regulation is coming, so we can't store cookies anymore. So what are potentials? How to do that? And due to all those new regulations, I think it becomes actually even more exciting, because it will be more and more important for all of us to use our own first-party data. And like other insurance companies, we swim in data gold, but we are usually not really using it properly. So we have all the information, but we don't make use out of it. And with the first Cloud for Marketing project, we use now the connection between Google Analytics via BigQuery to the cloud, and then we try to predict the likelihood that one single user might have for a successful transaction. So that means that, for instance, we build different user clusters. So we clustered all users in different buckets. So let's say we have users where we have the feeling that they might not convert, so they go to a waste bucket. But we also might have users that have where we have a very high likelihood that they will convert, so we put them into the high bucket. And regarding on the likelihood to convert, we can really forecast what kind of strategy or what kind of different remarketing strategy we need to use to give all those users a personalized experience on their website in real time. So this is at the moment what we're doing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now in the chat. You can also approach me on my email address, mike.fuhrmann@generali.com. My team is also happy to answer some more tech questions. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for the insights into the very successful campaign you started there. Maybe before we start with the questions from the audience, I already see that there are some questions coming in. Maybe as a general problem regarding when you're working with data. I mean, Mike, I know that you started in your company to build up in-house knowledge on this. You started to hire data scientists. Is that something you think is necessary? Is that something which depends on the situation? So how much of knowledge do you need to have in-house, and how much maybe you can outsource there?
So as said before, we work, of course, with external partners, but it's a little bit the approach. In order to really make the best out of that, I can't just have a project manager on set, because then everybody can tell me everything and actually also can consult me on everything. So I don't want that, let's say, our partners, their consultant become partners of their company. I actually want to work with those people on eye level, and also find some solutions in how we can do, let's say, make the most out of that, and also challenge each other. And this is why it's, for me, incredibly crucial to have people who are really experts in that area. And because also then, if you have those people in that area, I mean, they also have this continuous learning approach. I mean, this is something which also turns them from just being a data person or campaign manager at an insurance company into a real talent, which is rare sometimes on the market. And it helps them to develop. It helps actually us to develop as a team and to perform better. So it's, for me, very crucial to have really people have inside knowledge in-house, but then also use that and external knowledge to always bring yourself on a higher level.
Right, Clément, maybe you can say something about the let's say the personal aspect, like what kind of experts do you actually need to implement a data-driven customer experience or marketing campaign? Is it something where you think also like your clients maybe are lacking and that's why they're coming to you?
I think you can't have a rule for everyone. I'd say, and I think Mike touched on that in his presentation, that a company like Generali and or many financial services organization have had data scientists, people doing very clever stuff with data, but not necessarily on the CX side. That's been done for, lots of models are being used in the financial industry to mitigate the risk, decide to take on a customer, what is the price of your premium insurance, for example, for car insurance. And so he said it himself that he had to go into some sort of startup mode. And I think the idea is that, yes, you need people that get the data, those data scientists that can, leverage the technology, whether it's Google, Oracle, or any others correctly. So yes, there is definitely a human aspect to this. And I think the older and the bigger the organization, probably the more difficulty is, because that's not necessarily been the way they were acting. Those newer companies, the ones that were born in the digital era, have got that to their core. It's in their DNA. For organizations, again, like financial institutions, leveraging data in the way they've been doing it in other parts of the business in the CX world is something that I think is still a learning curve, if I may say. And Mike, you might agree or disagree, but I think from my experience, I'm surprised sometimes for, let's say, insurance company, not necessarily Generali, that they're not doing things that for us at Oracle are just bread and butter, if you like. Yeah.
Right. I think, Mike, you mentioned that, right? That you have a treasure of data, but it's very hard to actually make use of that then.
Yeah, and also sometimes you need to get really this, let's say, bring all those data together. You have, for instance, it's now not just only with Generali, but also when I worked at other insurance companies, sometimes you had some customer data there. The other part of the same customer was on a different island. And you had you couldn't really see if the customer, for instance, he had a direct policy. So he was a direct customer. He was a customer via an agent channel. For the customer, it doesn't really matter, right? So they are just a customer of Generali, or in that case. And it's now the goal to bring all that together and have a holistic view on the customer and their needs at every time, so that you can offer relevant, based on data, relevant solutions for them.
That's been the holy grail for people like you, Mike, and now technology is finally delivering, right? Because we've been talking about that single view of the customer for at least 15 years,
exactly.
But only now it's coming for real, right?
But can you say something like specific technologies or specific, let's say, progress which was made in analyzing data where you actually can build up the holistic view which you couldn't do before? Is there something like a specific kind of product, a specific kind of, let's say, approach which wasn't available before?
Is the question to me or?
To both of you, yeah, but maybe Clément first.
Do you want to, I'll go first if that's okay. Well, I think, and I don't necessarily want to talk about the Oracle products, but it's what's really important now is the computing layer that a provider has put in place. Again, whether it's one or the other, it's that computing layer that is now available. We have Intel as a sponsor. The processing power that is now made available, the different capabilities of streaming data at lightning speed is what made this available. As I said, single view of the customer is something that's been talked about and in some ways delivered for 15, 20 years. But let's say probably up until 3, 4, 5 years ago, you always had that view 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. If you were lucky, 1 day behind. Now you have this here and now, and coupling the historical data, bringing it all together, as you said, Mike, and having the ability to see the streams of what's happening right now to then make a decision is what's different. And that's all due to the actual hardware and capabilities of software now increasing. The scale is more or less unlimited. It's just a matter of money and budget, really.
Mike, do you agree on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we're coming to questions from the audience. So there are two questions regarding EdTech, and one is like, maybe generally, is there any way you're leveling up from that? Is there any revolutionary thing is the question? Do you think, so Mike, maybe also on that topic, do you think that is EdTech maybe only the start for you, or do you think that's actually pretty good for your needs?
Yeah, I mean, let's say it's a good start, and EdTech is developing further, and so you need to make use of that, and you need to just see how you can always learn, and probably also sometimes be a little bit creative. And this is why it's so important to have also then on your partner sides people with a similar mindset, who are very challenging and demanding and trying to make the most out of that. And it's continuous development. So the second question that I see there, actually, I think it's actually going more in that direction, because I don't know if the audience sees that, but there was that question what
third-party consultants,
yeah, with so yeah, we work with consultants on that. A few of them I mentioned, but it always has to do with a specific, let's say, skill that we haven't had, to say, okay, that will help us to complete the task, right? So this, and then also you learn from them. We come up with something, we integrate that into our new strategies and how to deal with that and how to improve the performance even further. And then yeah, and it's a continuous learning. I think that area, the whole digital developments, it's so fast. You just can't stand still there, and you just need always to try to be having really the top edge knowledge. Also, what are the coming trends, so that you can prepare on time and not just after 2 years saying, okay, so now I try that as well. And therefore, it's really good to have people in the team with those skills, who are also very eager to always play on the top position with some stuff. Because also for me, I mean, I'm sitting, I'm part of the executive board at Generali, and I'm responsible for marketing, communication, and various areas and various teams. But I learn from them. So, and this is really good, because I really like the approach that sometimes say, hey, Mike, there is something that we just saw. We tested that. Look at those results. Can we continue that? And I think this is that mentality that you need to have. On one hand, your people empowered to try out new things. On the other hand, also then, when there is something that works, be able to scale, and that's important.
And I would say EdTech itself is not really old school. I mean, you customize it in a way with all your data analytics, which wasn't available before, right? So the EdTech itself is not maybe the innovative part, but the customization is the innovative part.
Exactly.
Great. Clément, do you work on the EdTech space? Is that something you're also working on, customizing using data analytics?
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that we do, and in the FSO story, I touched very briefly on something about contextual advertising, which is, I mean, the question talks about, first-party data, or cookies disappearing, and having to rely more and more on first-party data to understand who it is that you should be targeting and where. And because we're not Google, and we don't have the the mammoth amount of data that these guys have, thanks to their technology and what they've put in place for nearly 2 decades now. We've been looking at providing ways to CX professionals to actually understand what to do with their adverts. And we've kind of flipped things around. As opposed to creating audiences of people, what we are doing is basically crawling the whole of the internet, 15 billion pages on a daily basis, and categorizing those pages. So this page is talking about football, this page is talking about cars. We're being extremely careful on what is being said on those pages, and then offering advertisers the possibility to have or place their adverts against an audience, but an audience of website visitors as opposed to visitors. I hope that makes sense. But the idea with the cookies disappearing, we're using what the page is about. And if you couple that with insights and knowing, okay, the customers that I have right now have an interest in this and this and that. And you add that in your presentation, Mike, where, okay, looking at Tesla, well, you know, those people are likely to be more affluent, having a bigger budget. And that's probably what Generali is targeting in terms of new customers. Well, you've done this way. The idea is to say, okay, this page is good for me. I want to place my ads there. And so that's a different approach, and that's the path we take.
Yeah. No, just to correct you on that. So the Tesla example was not for high income people. It was more because we had then advertisements placed in the environment where you had the eco discount. So because we offer for electronic cars a special price range, so we could actually change that and really go then to the needs, so that they see, maybe even they see their car, hey, they have an eco-friendly discount for me because I'm looking for electronic or hybrid cars.
Just shows that I can't read German anymore.
Right. Mike, but you would agree with that? I mean, if you cannot use cookies anymore, then you have to analyze more the websites and the environment you're placing your ads, right?
Yeah, but also it's similar that you're usually then building based on browser history and all those things. You don't know who that person is, and it doesn't really matter at that moment because you build lookalike profiles, right? So you just cluster different people with similar behaviors or browser histories or where they are, and then you cluster them into those kind of categories and you approach them. So it's okay if you delete your browser history all the time. Okay, then it's not that targeted, but you still find ways around. So it's okay. So everything that comes as a hurdle will also offer new solutions if you are a little bit creative and try to find workarounds. And now that whole cookie discussion was already in the market since now a year or 1.5 years. So also the big providers and all like Google and I mean they already also worked for months now already on solutions to still try to find ways to have the same tailored experience for users who browse the net. It's just a little bit different. So, but it still works.
Mike, can you give an example? Because you mentioned that you also want to use the data you have in-house for maybe for your marketing campaigns. Can you give an example there? Like how is that maybe possible? What kind of ideas do you have on that?
The data that we have in-house for marketing. I mean, we use our own data a lot in our whole CRM campaigning. So when we approach customers, when we try to cross-sell or upsell them with offers that are relevant for them. So you know usually how old a customer is. You know if there are children there, if he lives in a family or if she lives in a family, or you know many things. You just need to make use of those data points and then work with your CRM tools in a way to really be relevant for your customer.
Clément, can you maybe, do you have an insight on this artificial lookalike profile also mentioned in the question there? Is it something you're working on, and when you don't have cookies available?
Well, for the world of advertising, it's a little bit more difficult. But when it comes to lookalike models, yes, that's something we work on, and actually the piece I work mostly on is once the customer's been recruited, and as businesses, most of them, if not all of them, have got multiple products to sell. We actually provide and work with our customers to build lookalike models to try and do cross sales and upsells. That's where really we intervene, and what I've been working on with some customers around Europe. When it comes to the lookalike models for the advertising, that's something we do a little bit of, but maybe not to the extent to what Mike has presented.
Right. So I don't think there are more questions from the audience. Maybe some last words to our let's say to our audience in regard to what kind of areas should they look at? What are currently cutting edge? Where do you think there's currently something interesting going on, which is maybe not right now applied in your day-to-day work, but maybe in a year or two could be very important? Is there something you can think of? Maybe Clément?
Well, predicting the future is a risky matter, but what I'd say for me, what matters the most, and it was super interesting for me to see Mike's presentation, because he touched on it a number of times, and in this Q&A session again, it's the word for me is unification. Is getting everything, unification and activation, unifying your data, making it activable. Is that the word in English?
Actionable.
Yeah, probably is. Actionable. Thank you very much, Mike. So yeah, unification, action, that's really where we're going to see lots of investments from businesses, because I think many are not quite there yet.
Mike, what's your outlook?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that thing. We need to change our whole the way how we communicate with customers or with prospect from this let's say 1 to 1 million communication to 1-to-1 communication, and data is the key for that.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Clément. Thank you to the audience for listening us today. And you will be able, after maybe 2 or 3 days, to watch the webinar again on our website. And thank you so much again, and have a good evening there. Bye-bye.